All right, as always, come here, check this out. One of the easiest ways to play all over the fretboard, and the reason I called this lesson play all over the fretboard in 60 seconds, or learn the fretboard in 60 seconds, or whatever I called it, is to play using octaves. So every shape, whether it's your major shape and all 7 positions of your major shape, or your pentatonic shape and the 5 positions of your pentatonic shape, every shape basically has this repetitive pattern. So what I'm going to do is take one of the easiest shapes, which is your pentatonic, and I'm going to show you a section of the pentatonic that allows you to find octaves all up and down the fretboard. So you can find various places to play this on the fretboard, and it allows you to play up and down all over the place. So yeah, it's going to take longer than 60 seconds, but once you see it, you're going to realize that this is pretty easy, and it's just a matter of practicing it and working on your hand synchronization and all that stuff to get it down pat to where you can play stuff like this. So that's the idea right there, to just be able to take one little shape, that's just a chunk of the pentatonic, and be able to move it all over the fretboard. So what am I doing there? So basically we're starting off in the F major scale, which this pentatonic right here just played across that shape. The first position of that pentatonic would be this. Now, I'll map that out for you. I'll show that first position in the tabs. Again, as with all my lessons, if you want tabs, head on over to justpickuptheguitarandgo.com. You'll get a free 7-day course. Tabs for this one will be there as well in the membership section, so be sure to check that out. But this shape right here, I'm just going to pull a chunk of it out. But I'm going to show you where that chunk is in the second position. So we're going to move from that F major down to the second position, which is going to be the G. In this case, it's actually going to be G minor, because it's going to follow the Dorian flavor if I was playing with a chord in this position. For instance, something like a G minor 7, which would sound like this with Dorian. But since I'm going to be using the pentatonic, I'm just going to play this. But I'm only going to take a section of that out. If you've watched any of my previous lessons, or if you're a member of the Patreon that I have, where I break down the pentatonic, I've got a few of those out there, then you'll see that there are 3 small span shapes and then 2 large span shapes in every pentatonic. So 3 strings of just whole step, then 2 strings of whole step plus half step. And don't worry about that one, because we're only going to focus on the short spans. And then it repeats. It goes back to 3 short spans, 2 long spans, 3 short spans, 2 long spans. So all we're really going to play is those short spans. And I'm going to take those short spans and I'm going to go ahead and run up the fretboard with octaves. So I'm going to start with this one, then slide up again, go back to my 6th string where I can repeat what I just played on my 1st string, and then go back again. And then what you have is basically you have octaves going all the way up. And you could even play the open octave here as well across the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. And that basically allows you to play all over the fretboard. So again, when I say you could play all over the fretboard using this simple pentatonic pattern in 60 seconds, it really is true, but it will take some work, right? You got to learn it and you got to think about it. But it's really simple. And it's just a few different shapes that you can go ahead and put together and just move them up and down. So basically, it's just those 3 short spans of the pentatonic. Now this is the second shape of that F major pentatonic right here, and it's going to be played on the 6th string, the 5th string, and the 4th string at the 3rd fret and the 5th fret. That's it. So you play 3rd, 5th, 3rd, 5th, 3rd, 5th. Okay? Now I'm going to do a follow-up lesson to this one next week, where I'm going to show you all the different positions and how they kind of align together and how you can play these modally as well. So be on the lookout for that one. It's going to be coming up next week. But for this one right here, we're just going to look at that octave and we're going to take it all the way up. And then you can come up with a practice routine and play it all the way up and back and just keep working on it. I usually will play pentatonics with alternate picking. A lot of times I like to start with an upstroke, so up, down, up, down, up, down. But if you want to try a downstroke, down, up, down, up, down, up, that's also fine. But either way, whichever one works for you, it's important to practice. And when you get to the last one, the really cool thing about this is it just slides into the next one. So we go 6th string, 3-5, 5th string, 3-5, 4th string, 3-5. Then I'm going to slide up from the 5 to the 7. And we're already there. Now we can play on the 4th string, 5-7, the 3rd string, 5-7, and the 2nd string, because it's always tuned a little bit differently, right? We're going to go ahead and play 6-8. So you got that one. Same octave. And then you have 2 octaves, right? Now we can go up again on that 2nd string, going from the 8 to the 10. And we're going to play 8-10 on the 2nd string, and then 8-10 on the 1st string. Now the 1st string repeats, of course, on the 6th string. So I can play 8-10 on the 6th string there. And if you listen, that's what I was playing on the 5th string up here. So we're kind of in the middle of our little shape. So we're playing the beginning of the first shape here, the middle, and then the end. So that middle is going to be played at 8-10 on the 6th string as well. So now we can play 8-10, 8-10, but that's the end, right? So now we got to go ahead and slide on up. And we're going to slide up from the 10 to the 12 on the 5th string, and we're going to be able to play 10-12, 10-12, this time on the 4th string, and then on the 3rd string, 10-12. Now we have this whole thing. Now we can slide up from the 12 to the 14, play 12-14. Then when we get to the 2nd string, bump up 1 and play 13-15, and 13-15 on the 2nd and the 1st strings. Of course, you can play that 13-15 on the 6th string as well. And then we can slide up, and we're back to my original octave where my 15-17 repeats exactly what I was playing on the 3 and the 5. So we're going to play 15-17, 15-17, 15-17 across the 6th, the 5th, and the 4th strings. Slide up, and we're just repeating the pattern now. Fretboard is a circle. We started here, we came down here, we're going to repeat and keep going around. That's all we're doing. So we're going to play, slide up to the 19th fret, play 17-19, 17-19, then on the 2nd string, 18-20, slide up, and then we're the last shape we could play here, we're going to play 20-22, and then 20-22 on the 1st string, and then of course 20-22 on the 6th string as well if we want to. So you got the whole thing. You can go up, of course you got all kinds of cool stuff you could do there, and of course you can go backwards if you want to. Right? Just keep going backwards. And then that basically allows you to play all kinds of cool stuff. So musically, you can put this over any of those chords you want to that fit within this pentatonic box. In this case, you could play any of those chords that fit within the shape. You can start off with the F major. You can go into the G minor, the A minor. Then when we get to the C, we can play the C major, and then the D minor. So that all fits. So all those chords fit. And you can start with any of them as your root. That's what I'm going to talk about in the next lesson. You can start with pretty much any of those with your root, and this will all fit. So that gives you an idea what you could do with that. And again, this is just a small chunk of your pentatonic scale. It's just those small spans. But you can take those small spans all the way up and all the way back. and it gives you all kinds of cool stuff that you can play with in there. But you can also take those large spans, and that's for another lesson. But you can take those large spans and you can use those to play up and down the fretboard as well. And then of course you can combine them, and then you have all kinds of cool stuff that you can move up and down the fretboard, and it helps you understand how to connect shapes. Like now we know, if we know the whole pentatonic, we know how to move back and forth between pentatonic shapes just by taking those small spans and moving those back and forth. So that really would help if you want to transition from one to the next, thinking about these as like anchor shapes. And then being able to move back and forth. And of course to the ear, it's all going to resolve back to that G major, unless of course you're playing it over a different modal pattern, which again I'll talk about that in the next lesson. But anyway, if you like tabs for this, check out my free course over at justpickuptheguitarango.com. It's a free 7-day course. It'll teach you how to unlock the fretboard. A lot of my lessons kind of harp back to that idea of understanding the circular shapes, the patterns, the positions, and how they all kind of look the same, but they're just kind of rotated, which is the way that I like to think about it. The positions, the shapes, they all kind of move around in a circle. If you start at point A, you wind up back at point A, and it just keeps on moving around. And usually your scales are going to be either 5 notes or 7 notes, and when we think about that, those 5 notes just keep repeating, or your triads keep repeating, or your 7-note scales keep repeating. So you just keep moving around in the same circle, whether it's going this way around the fretboard or whether it's going this way around the fretboard, because what winds up happening is you always end up back at your starting point. And even though it sounds like people are doing a whole lot when they go from here all the way up to here, what's really happening is they're just playing the same boxes over and over and over again. The only real big trick is to train your fingers to go to the right places you want them to go, and to understand those scale shapes and how they interlock like puzzle pieces. So I'll tab all this out for you. It's going to be over at the membership section when you sign up for justpickuptheguitarango.com. You'll get my free 7-day course. You'll get access to that little free membership section that I have. Anytime I put up a YouTube video, I'll throw up a free PDF for you, which will give you extra information that goes along with the lesson. Probably stuff that I forgot to talk about, but I'll stick it in the PDF. And then also tabs for things that I'm showing you on the fretboard as well, if you're not quite able to follow my fingers and understand exactly what I'm talking about. So be sure to check that out. And in the comments section, give me the best advice you've ever been given about being a guitar player. Something that you got as a beginner or as an advanced player. It doesn't matter. Just anything that anybody's ever told you about being a guitar player. What's the best advice you received? For me, I've heard a lot of pieces of advice over the years. I think some of the best advice I've ever received is that you don't need expensive gear to be able to be a good guitar player. As you can see, I didn't listen to that. So it's still good advice though. So come back for more. Another part to this. This is kind of like a part 1. Part 2 to this next week, and I'll see you in the comment section. And I hope to see you on my email list so I can send you some goodies, let you know what's coming up, get those free tabs to you and all that stuff. Have a good one.